The last thing I expected on my first morning of vacation was to be labeled an EO terrorist by a woman clutching a yapping terrier in one arm and a clipboard in the other. She stormed up my gravel driveway in neon green flip-flops, eyes blazing like I'd set fire to the forest. My crime, a hummingbird feeder, still in its box unopened. She jabbed a trembling finger at a pine tree beside my cabin and shrieked, "You're luring invasive species." I thought it was a prank, until 3 police cruisers roared up the hill, boxing in my truck like I was smuggling contraband. That's when I reached for the deed, not just to my cabin, but to the entire mountain ridge, including the land her sprawling vacation home was illegally squatting on days earlier. I'd escaped the relentless grind of city life mail's traffic deadlines for this cabin, a gift for my late uncle tucked deep in the Blue Ridge Mountains. The road was a winding ribbon of gravel choked by weeds reclaiming their turf. That first night I sat on the porch, coffee in hand, as stars pierced the sky. The silence was so sharp it hummed a balm for my Farara nerves. But the next morning, as I unpacked the feeder, footsteps crunched up the path I hoped for. A friendly neighbor, instead a woman in a lime tracksuit, marched into view, radiating authority. She didn't have no greeting, no smile, just a clipboard raised like a warrant. "You're violating community code. Section 3C, she snapped. I blinked, speechless. I asked what code she meant. She rattled off Silver Pines' HOA Environmental Protection Guidelines, as if I'd memorized their rulebook. I explained this was private land owned by my uncle for decades, and I was just here to unplug. She scoffed, clutching her dog. "That feeder attracts hummingbirds. Hummingbirds draw predators. Predators threaten our pets." She cooed to the terrier, "Don't worry, Biscuit, you're safe." I laughed at it, slipped out, her face twisted, and she dialed her phone, voice rising. "I'm reporting an environmental hazard and a non-compliant structure. He's hostile." She knew my address somehow, and Biscuit yipped like a tiny enforcer. I figured the cops would see the absurdity and leave. But when 3 cars surrounded my cabin, I realized she had pulled the lead officer, stone-faced, asked for ID and proof of ownership. I stayed calm, retrieved the deed from my truck's lockbox and handed it over. He read it, then reread it, eyebrows climbing. "Sir, this says you own 250 acres, the whole ridge." I nodded. The woman Diane stood behind him, arms crossed, dog tucked under her elbow, her face draining of color. The officer mentioned homes built along my land's edge. I said, "I plan to survey the boundaries soon." Diane stepped back, stammering that the deed was fake. Another officer cut in. "Ma'am, this was filed 20 years ago. County records confirm it." Her mouth flapped silently. Biscuit trembling, the cops left, but the peace didn't return. I sat on the porch, replaying her audacity. This wasn't about birds or pets. It was about control. She saw a guy in jeans and assumed I was an easy mark that night. I walked the property and found fence posts shifted, survey markers gone, and a sign on my land, Silver Pines' HOA property. No trespassing. Diane wasn't just unhinged. She was scheming. I drove to town, bought trail cameras, private property signs, and a drone. If she wanted a fight, I'd bury her in evidence as I set up the gear. A shadow crossed my window. Diane stood at the driveway's edge, taping a flyer to a tree. It read, "Unauthorized structure under investigation, fines pending." Her name and a fake seal adorned it. The battle for the ridge had begun for 2 days. Diane vanished. No flyers, no dog, no clipboard. The silence felt like a coiled spring. I knew she wasn't done. On the 3rd morning, I spotted her from my porch, holding cord on her deck with 8 neighbors, gesturing like a general rallying troops. Binoculars revealed her pointing at my cabin, waving a paper like it was gospel. A woman gasped. A man checked his watch. Bored, Diane was spinning a narrative, and I was the villain later. I found a new flyer pinned to a tree violation. Improper waste management, accusing me of dumping toxins. My compost bin and some leaves were the only evidence. More flyers littered the trail. Each a new lion-painted cabin, illegal solar panels, unauthorized digging. She was building a paper trail not for me, but for her followers. My trail cams caught her at midnight, taping flyers, checking for cameras missing the hidden one, recording her every move I drafted, a cease and desist letter citing my deed and promising legal action. I delivered it to her doorstep. She answered in a bathrobe, sunglasses hiding her eyes, and screamed about my threats. As I walked away, her voice cracking, "Your feeder, still non-compliant." Hours later, a familiar cruiser arrived. I showed the officer the footage Diane sneaking taping trespassing. He chuckled, called it harassment, and took a USB copy, warning her behavior could turn criminal. He suggested formal no trespassing signs. I watched him drive to her house, then chaos. Erupted shouts echoed from her driveway. I crept closer, seeing Diane red-faced, arguing with the officer as neighbors whispered. One pointed at my cabin, shaking his head. Her grip was slipping. The next morning, a crude sign appeared on my gate. Community Watch Zone violators photographed, report suspicious mountain man. It was desperate, scrolled in red marker. I took it down and set a trap. Repositioned cams, motion alerts, and pink survey flags near a dummy toolbox that night. My phone bust footage showed Diane in a camo hoodie, yanking flags, tossing them into bushes, snapping photos. She was tampering with boundaries at the county office. I uncovered a bombshell. Diane's deck, 30 feet of it, including her outdoor kitchen, sat on my land. Her survey was either botched or faked. I marked the area with orange ribbon and a sign pending survey review. Property dispute active. Diane charged down, accusing me of vandalism. I calmly cited county records noting her 3 trespasses, including her midnight raid. She threatened to call the county. I urged her to. Another officer arrived, reviewed my evidence, and confirmed her deck's encroachment. Her name was clearly known to him. A drone buzzed overhead the next day, its camera tracking me. It flew back to Diane's house. Then a county code officer arrived, citing an anonymous complaint about construction violations. He found nothing, sighing. She emails daily. Diane was a serial complainer. Her accusations baseless. I planned a lookout tower, legal, 12 feet high, on my land. The county approved it. Fast as the frame rose, Diane photographed it. Glaring from her lawn, the tower screamed, "I see you." A petition arrived in my mailbox demanding the tower's removal, accusing me of commercial development and storing explosives. Diane's new title, Community Defense Coordinator. I called a neighbor, Ed, a retired surveyor. He hadn't read the petition, thinking it was about trails. He gave me old maps, proving Diane's deck was mine. Her next HOA meeting imploded. Neighbors argued, some left, one cried. A wildlife complaint followed, claiming my tower disturbed endangered birds. The agent found no nests, rolling his eyes at Diane's tactics. The county hearing was electric. My lawyer, Nathan, presented maps, footage, and surveys, calm and lethal. Diane countered with poster boards, one with flames around my cabin, another calling my tower a spy hub. The officer dismissed her fake HOA charter, and her accusations of conspiracy fell flat. The room turned, neighbors snorted. The ruling favored me. Outside, Diane stormed off, her followers dwindling. One apologized quietly. The county confirmed her encroachment, giving her 2 choices: remove the deck or buy the land. She knocked on my door, defeated, handing over a signed agreement to end all HOA nonsense and stay off my land. I pointed to her HOA headquarters sign. She yanked it down. Silent. Neighbors thanked me. The mountain exhaled, but Diane couldn't resist one last act. A trail cam caught her smashing my tower's camera and ladder. At midnight, I filed a complaint with the broken equipment. Deputies questioned her. She was fined, warned, and barred from contact. Her empire collapsed. Neighbors shared stories of her bullying, noise, complaints, threats over toys. I threw a barbecue, not for victory but for community laughter. Filled the ridge, kids played, dogs napped. Diane's blinds stayed shut. She joined another town's HOA, leaving us in peace. Winter brought snow, and a realtor called Diane's house was for sale quietly. I bought it through an LLC. No fanfare, she left at dawn, tires crunching frost. I gutted the house, turning it into Lookout Loggia, a free retreat for hikers. Veterans, volunteers, neighbors donated, and guests arrived. Healing in the wild, I found a rusted boundary stake, a relic of her war, from my tower. I watched the sunset, the lodge glowing below. This wasn't about winning, it was about earning peace, every tree, every trail mine.